What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Big Stacks Porzingis, Pee Wee the Plug, 1/4 through the wire, number one Knicks fan in the world, aka Mr. Know It All. And by the title of the video, y'all already know what we're here to discuss and what we're here to talk about. Earlier today, we all got the notification about the president of the Knicks, Steve Mills, basically laying down the groundwork to fire Fizz. And I know a lot of people that watch me or watch the podcast are just fans. Anything that happens to the Knicks or anything that happens with the Knicks, I'm one of the first people to come to y'all mind because I've self-proclaimed myself as the number one Knicks fan in the world. So rightfully so. So I thought instead of just addressing everybody individually on Twitter and answering the same questions 50 different times, why not just address it one time in the video so everybody can get a feel for my thoughts, how I'm feeling, or what I'm thinking about the situation or the news that occurred today. Um, I'm just here to get my raw thoughts and opinions out. I'm not here to make the best edited video. I'm not here to care about the coloring or the lighting or the background music. If there is going to be background music, I'm really not here for that right now. This isn't the video to be the best produced YouTube video. I'm just here to really speak on my Knicks, my beloved Knicks. Got the jacket on, got the shirt under it, of course, and give my raw thoughts and emotions on the situation at hand. So that's just a disclaimer for anybody that has anything to say, like, oh, this is not, oh, where's the background? I'm not here for that right now. I'm just here to really talk about my team and what's going on. So let's get right into it. I am, I'm disappointed. You know what I mean? We had a terrible loss to the Cavaliers at home after beating the Mavericks in Dallas. So that already kind of had me like, frustrated because I thought that Dallas win could spark something. We win that game, we go into Dallas, we come back. And no disrespect to the Cavs, but they're not a playoff team or nearly as good of a team as the Mavericks. So it's like we go back home, we beat the Cavs, we're on a 2-game winning streak, we just bounced back. We got Chicago on Tuesday. This could be something where we can kind of turn the page and kind of get some momentum for ourselves. But of course not. Of course we come out unmotivated. We give up a game that I think we could have easily won. And then after the game, though, we have the president, Steve Mills, and then we have the GM, Scott Perry, basically address the media at a podium. 10 games into the season for no reason. I don't think we had one press conference over the summer for any of the guys we signed. But 10 games into the season, we have a blowout loss against the Cavaliers, and we're having a press conference with podiums and things to address the media. And they basically said what everybody could have predicted. They were unhappy because I don't know anybody who's happy with a 2-8 start, so I don't really understand that. And that was pretty much it. They were unhappy and disappointed, which we all could have guessed or we all could just assume because, like I said, nobody's happy with a 2-8 start. Then after I seen that, because I seen that late last night, that kind of popped up on my news feed or whatever on Twitter, and I was like, it was way after the game, and I was kind of like, whoa, when did this happen? So after I seen it though, I kind of got like a feeling that something was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I kind of was hoping Fizdale wouldn't be a part of it because I remember the introductory conference when they first signed him, and I also just like Fizdale, and I personally felt like he wasn't doing anything wrong, or that he hasn't done anything wrong. I think he's a good coach. Every time I'm watching the post game interviews from the players, they seem to support him, and they seem to take ownership and accountability of what they're doing on the basketball court with some of these games, as far as a lack of effort and just a lack of attention to detail. And that speaks a lot because this is a dog eat dog world, and this type of industry and business is very cutthroat. So a lot of people within these organizations, they have to kind of look out for themselves, players included, because we see how fast players can get traded or shipped away. And nobody really cares about anything except what you recently did to get the bag, basically. So when I see players like a Marcus Morris, who is highly respected among the league, from his peers to coaches to GMs, Marcus Morris, however you feel about him, he's no way in shape or form, like a top 25 player or some perennial all-star, nothing like that. But when it comes to respect, he's right at the top of the list. And to see him, put his neck on the line for a coach like David Fizdale speaks volumes to, the impact that David Fizdale has. We talking about Markieff Morris. Morris twins, they don't bite their tongue for nobody. If anything isn't going a particular way, they don't feel afraid to speak out on anything. These are guys that have had run-ins with players on their team during games. Like it was a situation where I can't remember if it was Marcus or Markeith, but one of them choked the teammate, live on the bench during the timeout. You know what I mean? It's not to bring up anything crazy because they had a close relationship with that teammate and it kind of got blown out of proportion. You know what I mean? And it fizzled out. But that's just to give you that sense of how respected they are and how they act. They don't really give a fuck about anything or anything anybody has to say about how they feel. They're just gonna keep it raw and uncut, and that's why I love both of them, and I love having Marcus on the team for that reason. But even when I see a guy like Frank Ntilikina, whose minutes have been up and down and inconsistent, and he's definitely has had to win over his time and his luxury of being a starting point guard for the last so many games. Even he's come out and took ownership for the team's bad starts or bad finishes to games, and it spoke highly of Fizdale. And I'm not saying I expect anybody to come out and just talk shit about Fizdale, but they don't have to mention him or say it's upon us, or they don't have to say Fizdale is doing good. We just got to get. They don't have to say those things. They could just answer their questions and still be professional and move on without mentioning him or showing support publicly of him being a coach. But they do anyway. Also, another thing that kind of disappoints me is when, like I said, when they first signed Fizdale, they had this whole speech and this whole plan of doing this thing the right way, not really wasting money, being smart with our draft picks, understanding and appreciating patience and how this isn't going to be built in one day or overnight. And it had me bought in as a fan because Scott Perry came in and I was a believer that he was going to come in and set the tone, and I thought he did. With everything that he was saying, and then the hiring of Fizdale kind of was on track with what he was saying. So I'm like, let's go. I'm liking this. We got a new coach, we got a new mindset, we got a new person at the top running things, and everything is kind of just making sense. Everything that they were saying was kind of correlating to each other. They had a nice player development coach and a players coach in Fizdale, which is the type of coach you want when you're about to embark on a long process of developing a winning organization from the ground up. So now to fast forward to today, when we have information coming out about them starting the groundwork to fire him 10 games to the season, is real distasteful for all of those things that I just mentioned. I, number one, just don't like when information is leaked. I just feel like already as a losing organization, we have enough on our plate. We need to focus on getting better. But then we also every season have little drama, that kind of creates its own distraction for the team, but also for the media to run with. We had the Melo and Phil Jackson shit. We had the Kristaps shit last year. Now this year, 10 games into this season, we have this. The year before we had the Melo shit, we had them trading JR and Iman for basically nothing. Then they went to go win the championship with the Cavaliers. So it's always every year some other added storyline or embarrassing moment for people to laugh at or make stories out of, to be an added distraction to a team that's already losing, which is the hardest thing to overcome in the NBA. So I'm not a fan of that at all by any means, and I just think that that's a reflection of who we have at the top of the organization calling the shots, because the players, the coaching staffs, and all of that has been a revolving door for the Knicks for years, but the people at the top have kind of been there for a consistent amount of time, and certain things have always been a certain way, and I think that that's just a plain reflection of who's calling the shots for us at the top. And then my other thing about this Fizdale situation is, I think it's unfair criticism, and I think it's unfair expectations to expect for him to come in and really have some. I don't really know what they expected, but really what I'm trying to say. I think on paper we have a nice team. We have some good players that we've seen have different moments in the NBA where it's like Julius Randle is coming off a real good year. Taj Gibson is from a Bulls organization that had deep runs in the playoffs. He's a hard-nosed veteran. Elfrid Payton has shown flashes, and he was coming off one of his better seasons with the Pelicans. Wayne Ellington is a guy who's known to be able to shoot it. We have some good little young guys like R.J. Barrett, Kevin Knox, Dennis Smith Jr., Mitchell Robinson, and Frank Ntilikina, of course. And then you talk about Marcus Morris and him, coming off of that Celtics team that had runs in the playoffs as well, but there was a consistent winning organization. Bobby Portis is from that Bulls tree as well. So it was like, oh, we got some things. We can work with some things. But in no way, shape, or form did it feel like it was a team that was going to guaranteed be a like solidified playoff team. I think we were looked at as a team that, oh, that team could be something because it's the East. So it could be something. It could turn into something. If it fell apart and was a shit show, I don't think anybody was going to be surprised with that either. But if we made the eighth seed, I don't think people would have been surprised at that either. We were just one of those teams that it could go either way, and how we started the season or how we bounced back from the start of the season was going to be a reflection on us being a playoff team or our chances of being a playoff team. And we didn't start off the right way. We're 2-8. But I think, like Fizdale said in his post-game interview after last night's game, is we've had impressive times on the floor, and we've shown what type of team we can be. It's just about putting it all together. But we played the Spurs real well. We played the Celtics down to a game-winning shot. We went in Dallas and beat them. We came back from 20 or so against the Bulls in the at the Garden to win. We've had notable comebacks, and then we've had a couple games where we just came out and didn't do shit. And that's the reality of having an inconsistent team. We have a lot of players, a lot of younger players like Kevin Knox, RJ Barrett, when they have their inconsistent moments. Franklin Lakina as well. And they're just inconsistent. Trier, he has, just one game they'll drop 20 and be on fire and be like, okay, these dudes can hoop. Then the next game they kind of disappear. You forget they're even on the court or on the team. And we have those same type of veterans. We have certain guys on our team that are just known for having sparks and flashes of like brilliance, and then they go missing, and it's like, oh damn, what is he doing? Or, how did he even get a contract? And we just have a complete team of that. So when you have a team like that, number one, the expectations is hard to make high because you just don't know what to expect to begin with. And then number two, it makes it even harder for a coach to coach a team like that, because you look around the league and you look at some of the most solid teams like the Jazz or the Raptors or the Sixers or the Celtics, and you look across the board and they have solidified rotational players, so it's no question who their starting lineup is going to be or what their rotation is going to be. Some teams have so much talent or so much solidified talent that their lineups make themselves. I could have told you what the Jazz lineup was going to be way before Quinn Snyder even said it. It was automatically going to be Mike Conley. He's a starting point guard in this league. It was automatically going to be Donovan Mitchell. You know what I mean? He's a borderline all-star already in 3 years in. It was automatically going to be Bogdanovich, their big free agent acquisition. It was automatically going to be Joe Ingles, who was a big part of their previous playoff runs. It was automatically going to be Defensive Player of the Year 2 times in a row, Rudy Gobert. Those teams have so many solidified players that the lineup just makes itself. Same thing with a team like the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons, already 2-time All-Star in his 3 years in the NBA. He was automatically going to be a point guard. Josh Richardson automatically was going to be a wing for them. You know what I mean? Tobias Harris was automatically going to start. Al Horford, an All-Star. Joel Embiid, that was automatically going to be the starting five. We don't have that type of talent or have the luxury of having that type of talent where the starting lineup is automatically going to make itself, or the rotation is automatically going to make itself. That's one of the toughest jobs to have in the NBA, when every single night you have to guess who's going to come with it and who's going to perform. We have an entire roster full of inconsistent players. Some players, that's just who they are and who they've been their entire career. They're just up and down. But then the other players on our team are just like that because they're young and still trying to figure everything out. So you might have Kevin Knox come out and shoot the ball great, and he may have 17 points. Then the next game, he might come out and only have 4 points because he's just up and down like that. Same thing with a guy like Bobby Portis. Against the Bulls on a good comeback, Bobby Portis was the guy. But then the next night, Bobby Portis wasn't really anywhere to be found. And that's okay because that's just who Bobby Portis is. But when you have a front office who's put together a team like that, you should already be prepared for this type of shit. And you shouldn't really be this riled up to make a crazy move like this, because we already discussed when we first hired Fizdale that this wasn't going to be a thing that was overnight. We knew it was going to take baby steps. And to me, we've done the right things to try to create that winning atmosphere and trying to build this thing in the ground up. All of the players that we have are on 2-year contracts with a team option. Majority of these players are on a team option, probably besides Julius Randle. So, meaning we have them for 2 years. This year and next year. A team option says It's up to us if we want to bring them back that second year or if we want to let them go and collect our money back for the next free agency class. And then we have like Julius Randle on a player option where he decides if he wants to come back or if he wants to opt out. That's all good by me. And it also means that we sign a lot of veterans that can contribute on a lot of playoff teams. So if this goes down the drain right in our face, we can trade a lot of these guys at the trade deadline or whenever. You know what I mean? Wayne Ellington, a lot of teams will love his three-point shooting. Every team that's primed to be in the playoffs will contribute for Wayne Ellington. You can't tell me the Bucks wouldn't love Wayne Ellington. You can't tell me LeBron James wouldn't love to have Wayne Ellington coming off that bench in Los Angeles. You know what I mean? You can't tell me that some of these playoff teams wouldn't love to get a Marcus Morris, wouldn't love to get a Bobby Portis off the bench who can have those moments like he did against the Bulls. So we have a lot of these pieces to do different things like that. So I don't see what the big deal is if we start off this slow. And then we still have our picks and our young players like R.J. Barrett, Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson, Trier, Frank Ntilikina. We still have the main bases and core of those players to get rid of those other veteran players that we have that can be expanded. And then we just keep doing the same thing. We collect, build up our assets through the draft, and then we take our money, make smart decisions. Well, if we can get a star, of course we'll bring Greek Freak if we can get him. But if we can't, we're not going to give a long-term contract to somebody that hasn't proven that they're worth it because we don't want to be in that situation that we've put ourselves in over the years. We're the team that traded 2 first-round picks for Andrea Bargnani. We're done making those decisions. But it's not a big deal if we start off slow or if we start off bad when we have all of this money, with all of these expandable contracts, and we keeping our young talent. If we blow this thing up and we're one of the worst teams in the NBA and we get the second overall pick and we can get LaMelo, what was the big deal? We didn't have LaMelo Ball, R.J. Barrett, Kevin Knox. We got Mitchell Robinson in the center. We got Trier and Frank Ntilikina. Whatever you want to do with Dennis Smith Jr., boom. We have a nice little core right there. Then we take the money that we have, since we didn't throw it at somebody and do nothing stupid, and we take that and we try to find the same type of veterans here and there like last year and try to make that work with those young players, and we let those young players grow. A backcourt of RJ Barrett and LaMelo, from what we've seen of RJ and what we think LaMelo can be, will be lights out. And the way that I've seen Kevin Knox have his moments this year already, especially with his improved three-point shooting, and what we can get from Mitchell Robinson at the rim, that sounds like a very intriguing, exciting young core to me. But what the Knicks going to do? They're going to blow it all up, blow it out of proportion. They're going to fire a coach that has, done a lot of different good things and it has won over the players in the locker room, and they're going to find a new coach who's going to have a new theory. Now, R.J. Barrett is going to have to get accustomed to this coach. He's going to be 2 years in his first year, he's going to have 2 coaches already. Mitchell Robinson in his second year is already going to be in his second coach. And now we got to start the whole process over of, how we're going to play basketball, how we want to play it, a new system. We got to buy into these. And it's exhausting. It is exhausting. And it's the little shit that we're doing all this about. If this was Fizdale's 7th year, I'd be all for it. But this is this man's 3rd year when we already knew what the fuck we were signing up for. So why are we doing all this shit to set ourselves back again? This is another coach that didn't make it to the end of his contract, and now we're about to have to go on a whole new hiring process potentially and throw all of the shit we just built and so much progress we've made. We're throwing it all in the drain and restarting over. We're restarting a restart of a restart. How many times do you restart a restart? This shit is ridiculous. Y'all leave a comment. Let me know what y'all thinking. I'm just a distraught Knicks fan. I'm upset. I'm emotional. I appreciate y'all watching. Leave a like if you're new. Subscribe. It's your boy Big Stacks Porzingis. I'm out.